Welcome to another episode of Inside the Headset with the Palestine High School head football coach Kyle Ralph. I am special teams coordinator, wide receiver coach Wes Anderson. We've got a new player in the game today, joined by assistant quarterbacks coach, 2015 Indiana Mr. Football runner-up Alex Neligh is with us today. Coach Neligh, welcome to the big program.
Thank you very much.
So, brought Coach Neligh with us today. We're going way back here, Coach Ralph, to 2014, the state championship game against New Prairie. Big win for the Dragons. It set a bunch of records, a bunch of state championship records in this game. But before we talk about some of that stuff, I kind of want to get your feel of how your first state championship week went, how your first state championship game day went, kind of leading up to the game, especially coming off, the week before was the Columbus East semi-state game, the field goal to win the semi-state, the whole thing. That's a big emotional lift to win a game like that, but then to have to come right back and get to work and get ready for a state championship game.
Yeah, I think going into the game, one of my biggest fears, and this was a great group, very, very different group, really had a unique personality to it. But I think one of my biggest fears just as a coach was, the playoffs are so unbelievably emotional themselves just in general, and having to go through them is really not an easy task. It's difficult in a lot of different ways. And East had really beaten us up pretty bad the year before. We really had not pulled any punches about that. That was the benchmark. And I really felt like that was kind of the standard of certainly 4A football at the time, but really of Indiana high school football. They were just such an elite level team. So, having come back and beating them an emotional win and the physical toll that takes on your players and stuff, I think my biggest concern was just, I know it's a state championship game, but are these guys going to be able to refocus essentially quickly enough that we can, rebound from that and move on and realize like that game that just happened wasn't the state championship. This one that you've now earned the right to play in is. And again, like I said, it was a great group of kids. They were always really mission focused. So, we came back on Monday. I mean, they really seemed like they were just ready to move on and move forward and let's finish the job here. So I think that really eased a lot of the anxiety that I probably had going to this. I think it helped some that I had played in a state championship as a player. And so I kind of understood like what that week brings with it and tried to help prepare the kids for, the amount of media that all of a sudden shows up to stuff because there's only a couple teams in the general area that are still alive and playing usually. And so now that media coverage starts to really expand on all those teams, and you've got reporters that want to come to every game. You've got the ability to go practice downtown and go to the Colts facility to practice every once in a while. You can get that done. And you've got Thanksgiving during that week. So you want to work around that with the families and what that schedule is going to look like with them so that they can get, what they want out of a family Thanksgiving. And we started the tradition this year, which I thought was great. We've done it every year that we've made the state championship since. We do a Dragon family Thanksgiving where all the families, the players and their families are invited up to the school. We essentially just do a big pitch-in on one of the nights that is not Thanksgiving. And it really is something special, just for everyone to get back together again, because you kind of get a little bit lost in the hustle and bustle of a season like this. And it really has been a great tradition that we've done. So we've had that 4 total times now, which is great. And I think one thing this week that I will never forget is man, the weather was just awful through the entire playoff run. It was so cold and so just brutally bad. And, we went out and we practiced in the snow. Essentially on that Thursday walkthrough, we were on the game field and we're practicing out in the snow, and it was just a really unbelievable setting, to be honest. To just sit there and watch the snowfall with the players doing their stretching routine and just so laser focused on what was going on. And I took a picture from behind everybody that I still have to this day. That's one of my favorite pictures. And it was almost a calming feeling. I just remember thinking, like, we're going to be okay. We had a great week of practice, really, really intense. And yeah, I mean, the whole week just came together beautifully, honestly.
Coach Neligh, same question to you. As a player coming off what Columbus East was and having to get up Saturday morning and go back in the film room and get ready to play in your first state championship game as well. I'll ask you that same question.
I think it was the most intimidating part was going from playing a team that basically did the same stuff we did. We were pretty used to seeing it, and having to turn around and play, obviously, the wishbone wing tee offense that they ran. And their defense was pretty unlike anything that we played against the whole season. But kind of the same thing, trying to get going for that extra week, because that semi-state game really did feel like we got over the hill. But after that, there wasn't really anything that we thought could kind of get in our way. I mean, getting past Columbus East seemed like, obviously, like he said, it did kind of feel like our state championship. Kind of felt like the game that should have been played downtown. But no, getting past that and then staying focused, I think, kind of wasn't going to be a big problem for us, just because, I mean, after getting past East, I think everyone kind of knew in the back of our head what was coming next, especially after getting a little bit of film on New Prairie the week before and kind of realizing we matched up to them and what they did pretty well, that it might be a bit of an easier game for us than the previous. So I think we were ready.
Kyle, so I'm going to ask you this question, and I'll preface the question a little bit with a little bit of a backstory. So for those that don't know, in some of the bigger games that we've played, you don't eat on game day. You're so worked up and all that stuff that you don't eat. And so, as Fridays go on now that I'm on staff, because I wasn't on staff for this, usually about midday, I'll get a text from my wife and she'll ask me if you're eating, and she knows if you're eating that we're going to be all right. And so, usually by mid-morning I come over and I've kind of, taken your temperature a little bit and see how you're feeling about the game that night and all that stuff. So my question is, did you eat this day?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, you'd be surprised by just by taking a look at me that I don't eat food on most game days. I mean, I just can't really. It's not that I'm really nervous about something in particular. There's a lot of things that really get me worked up about those game day things. Most of it honestly revolves around, just the kids. I truthfully, I just want the kids to go out and perform, and I want the kids to go out and just stay healthy, honestly. I don't get super worked up about, you just don't want to lose. It really isn't that. I just get worked up. I'm a little bit nervous about some of those things. I want the kids to play well. And so, yeah, this game, I remember I didn't eat all day. Actually, Coach Buchanan's wife had all the coaches over for breakfast the morning of the game and made an absolutely wonderful breakfast. And thankfully, she had kind of known that about me ahead of time, so I didn't look disrespectful. But she kind of goes, you're not going to eat today, are you? I said, no, I'm really sorry, but I'm not, and she just kind of laughed, and I pretty much just sat there and watched these coaches eat an absolutely incredible breakfast of, eggs and biscuits and gravy and all this stuff like that. And I went home and I didn't eat lunch, and really right after lunch we went and got on the bus anyway. So yeah, the biggest thing around that for this game to me, a little bit like Alex said, we had really studied the film. I really felt good. He's dead on too, and that was one thing about that team that I always appreciated about the 14 and 15 teams is they were into the film and they knew what they were getting themselves into before the coaches ever really had to break that stuff down for them, to be honest. And I felt like the matchups in this game for us were largely in our favor across the board. There were a couple spots where, we thought we might have a little bit of trouble with some of the stuff that they did, but for the most part, we felt really confident about this. And there was just something that kind of, I wasn't as nervous for this game as maybe I normally would be, but I told my wife beforehand, in the week leading up to it, I was a little bit of a wreck internally, but I never actually projected that externally to the kids. And, my wife kept asking me like, what's your problem? Like you said, you feel really good about this game. You said you feel like you can beat them, all this, that, and the other. You got great players. And I think the biggest thing for me going into this was, as a player, I had experienced 2 state championships. I was fortunate enough to move up to varsity as a player, as a freshman, and get to practice with a team that made a state championship and lost. And then I really wasn't technically a part of that whole process because I came up there late. But then as a senior, we had a great group, and my senior class, we lost in the state championship game. And my head coach had coached for quite a long time, and he was a 200 win guy and is in the Ohio Hall of Fame, and he's in St. X's Hall of Fame and all this stuff. And he unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he never won one, and had coached an absolutely amazing career, had been to multiple of them, and had never won a state championship. And that was kind of where, for me personally as a coach, every coach that becomes a head coach wants to climb that mountain and be a state champion. And I'm personally a tremendous competitor. And my thing this week was just, you just never know if you're ever going to get back to one. And I think that's what really kept me on edge the whole week is like, I'm in year 2 of being a head coach at this point in time, and we've got a great team of kids that have had an unbelievable season. And, it's a great opportunity, and you just never know. I mean, you could coach for 30 or 35 years, and this could be my second year coaching, and we make it and we don't win, and I never get back there as a coach again. And, those things are hard to think about because some people do. They work their entire career and they never get to one, or they get to one and they don't win it and they never make it back again. So I just put such an extraordinary amount of work into this week because, quite frankly, I didn't want to fail for the kids. And they reciprocated that in a major way. I mean, they had an incredible week of practice this week. So.
All right, well, let's jump in here. Coach Neligh, feel free to hop in at any time on this. So we're gonna get the opening kickoff here, and we're gonna take it back down about the 10-yard line. So, nice big momentum play to start this game.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse some of the film in this one. Back in the day, you had to film these things from the upper level press box at Lucas Oil. And I mean, it is a mile away, and it's through their glass panes they had up there. So it's not bad. It's a little bit tougher to see at points, but it's about as good as the game can start right here. We get a really nice opening kickoff with Garrett, and, get the ball down to essentially the 10-yard line on the opening kickoff of the night, which is boy, do a lot of the worries start to slip away when you do that.
So as we always do, and I kind of want to hear from both of you here, kind of talk me through their defensive personnel. I know, Coach, you said you felt like our matchups were really, really good across the board here. So Coach Ralph, why don't you go first, and then Coach Neligh, I'll kind of let you chime in as well.
Yeah, I mean, this year, again, this is when we were in 4A. So you're for the most part, you're playing teams that are are usually built pretty similarly to us. We were still at the time like right in the middle of the enrollment in 4A, so it isn't like we're not one of the bigger schools in the division, but it's at least reasonable. And so you're not getting some of the matchups that 5A presents itself that are major issues. So, their defensive line was pretty solid. They had a big Division I player that played O-line and then a little bit of defensive line for them as well. And he was really good. And then they had a Division I linebacker that was also really talented and a really good-looking kid on the hoof. I mean, he was very physically impressive. But for the most part, their kids really, I mean, they looked pretty much exactly like ours. The big difference in this game, so really most of the stuff was even. I thought we had an advantage, especially on the offense and defensive lines. But I think our biggest advantage came in the skill position areas. So one, they had not played a quarterback like Alex the whole year, and he really was going to be our big weapon in this game. They hadn't played a quarterback that could run like him, and they really had not even seen a quarterback that could throw like him. Most of the teams up there are really heavy run teams, and they're kind of like a come straight downhill at you type run, and we're not that. So I think on the film we watched, I don't even know if they had played against a zone team the entire season that we knew. Now, obviously, we don't have all their film, but we know about the teams they play, and I don't think they really had played a zone read team the whole year. And so we thought that would give them a lot of trouble. And then the passing game stuff, from what we'd seen in the limited film that we'd had, I mean, we only had them defending against like 30 throws or something. And they had really struggled against teams that would air the ball out even a little bit. So we just felt like we had a lot of advantages in a couple of those areas. And our skill players were really good this year. I mean, Garrett right now that just had that kickoff return up top is, a 6'3", 185-pound receiver that was usually a really big mismatch for a lot of people just because of his height and his strength. And then, Duke is down at the bottom, who ended up being a great receiver and went to St. Francis, and he's only a junior in this game, and he was really fast and ran great routes. And, kind of one of the X factors was Noah, who's about to catch a touchdown here in a second, but he was a 6'2.5", 225-pound tight end that could really run and was great with the ball in his hands. And so we always had some kind of a mismatch problem with most teams that we played, because we just had the kind of the talent and the receivers, especially at 4A, that each one of those guys is a specific problem. And then the X position usually rotated some. So, yeah, I mean, it was just a game where we felt like we really did. Like Alex said, we had a lot of advantages in a lot of different ways, but a huge chunk of that revolved around our skill guys. He might be able to speak a little bit more to what they thought or what it was, but.
Yeah, I think it was, I mean, you can kind of see here just the way that they lined up to a lot of our formations were unlike anything that we've seen. I mean, not a lot of people were playing 2 yards inside of our backside receiver. That opens up a lot of routes for you. And then over here, the way that they have the box set up is that was when we kind of opened up me running a little bit. And so they had this hanging linebacker over their defensive end would come and sit for me. And then on the outside of him, that almost alley defender would play 2 yards inside of probably our biggest weapon on the offensive skill side, which was Noah. And, I mean, they really didn't make any adjustments to it most of the game. And it really opened up to whatever we wanted to do. And honestly, when you walk out and have the line like we had and see pretty much 5 people in the box when you are running inside and outside zone away from that hanging defender, it makes you pretty confident in everything that you're wanting to do.
Yeah, this is going to be, and obviously I know how the game goes, but even if I didn't, knowing what I know about us, and if you're going to, if you're going to play a 6-man box and one of those 6 is just going to sit here for the quarterback, it's going to be a long night for you. Just because, for in the coaching world, we call it hat on a hat. I mean, we've got 5 happy little linemen here to block 5 very unhappy defenders. Read one, and we're out the gate. So we'll just kind of see how this goes along the way. I skipped ahead to play 2 here because we didn't have to start to play 1. So here's kind of a good example of what we're talking about, where that linebacker, Coach Neligh, is kind of sitting here for you. On that first down zone call.
You can see on that play too. That was one of the great things about Noah being so big and so athletic and versatile. Like, the kid they put out there over him is their big, like 6'4" Division I linebacker kid. But Noah was a great player. He actually, in this season right here, Noah ends up winning the Mr. Football Position Award for defensive line as the best defensive lineman in Indiana. He's a heck of a player. So that matchup, that kid was a mismatch for a lot of people all year, but where they were putting him, I mean, it essentially allowed us to get Noah on him as a blocker most of the time as well, which kind of negated his effectiveness because we could put our best big guy on their best big guy. So that was actually really helpful in our favor. But yeah, the second we see how they line up on that first play of the game with just inside zone, and like Alex said, they didn't line up, great to it, and they inside leverage a lot of our kids, and so we come back to hitch. Noah does a great job of setting this kid up with a little outside fake, and Alex puts one right here in kind of the hook curl area, seam hook curl area, and we just slam a hitch in there for a touchdown, and we're 2 plays into the game. I mean, honestly, it's about as good a start as you can possibly imagine. I mean, it's certainly confidence building. So this was one of the things too that I'll say they had played really, really well on special teams throughout the entire year. And we have one of our better special teams games in this particular game as well of the season. Honestly, we do a great job in this game for the most part, but they had a kid that was in my opinion, one of the best all-around players that I think I've seen since I've been up here. His last name was Weller. I think it's Tyler Weller. He was honestly there, like, do everything. He was a return guy. He played one of their backs. You're going to see him here on offense in a second. He was a DB as well. I mean, he was essentially like an old school throwback Ironman player. He never came off of the field. He was really, really, really good. And he had just torn teams apart this year in so many different ways. So, him and their offense then, as you kind of look at it, it's an offense that you don't see a whole lot of, kind of this flex bone, veer wing T-ish type blend of stuff. It is definitely, yeah. I mean, you don't see a lot of this, and this was Coach Ratke's MO, and he's done it everywhere he's been. And their offensive line was very physical. Again, at the 4A level, was a really, really good football team, but we felt like we matched up exceptionally well with their guys. I think one of the big bonuses of this game is their strength was our strength. I think at the time, I mean, we were only giving up like 50 rushing yards a game or something insane. I mean, it was absurd. And that came before we played East. But, Markel, I think in this season, Markel was averaging about 300 a game. He broke the single season record in the state in this season and didn't get to play in the state championship because we had knocked him off, and we held him to like 150. So in the previous 13 games, he'd run for, I don't know, like 3,200 yards or something crazy like that. I mean, he was averaging almost 300 a night. and we only gave up 150 to them. So our run defense was exceptional this year. We had 3 really, really talented linebackers. Joe, Gabe, and Sterling were all here. All 3 of those guys ended up 2 went to Marion, and then Gabe ended up walking on at IU, but had an offer from Marion. And like I said, Noah is going to actually transition and play outside linebacker in our monster package for us. Joe is one of the outside backers here as well. We slide Nick Brickens up to a linebacker spot. Their best stuff was our best stuff, and I felt like our run defense was more than capable of stopping them. So, it was really their strength against our strength, and I felt really good about that matchup here. But they definitely had some guys, and this is not an easy offense to stop and deal with. So,
let me ask you this, because I kind of want to talk about the offense a little bit, because I don't know. Any false keys in here, Coach?
They had a couple things here and there, but
Okay.
for the most part, it was pretty much what you expect from these offenses. A lot of it was just, they're going to beat you with execution and repetition. They had a couple of the crisscross counter things built in there, and yeah, some of the little false keys and whatnot, but they were going to absolutely just beat you to death with veer, dive, the quarterback lead stuff, overload things. Actually we had Alex had to play defense some of this game as far as practice plan stuff was concerned. I don't think you ever had to go over there in this game, but you were part of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was just –
it was a mistake on your part.
He had played defense when he was younger too, and he had also played. You played outside linebacker in 15 when you were a senior against Columbus East a little bit.
Yeah, I got benched pretty quickly.
Yeah, you did. You did.
So are we, Coach? Are we keying guards here?
Yeah, the 3 linebackers essentially are going to key the cone in front of their face. So you can see Gabe is really tight to the line of scrimmage on this. He liked playing from there a lot better, so he's going to essentially read guard, center, guard. And then the other 2 linebackers are essentially going to key their tackle guard combos here. The big thing is we worked all week on don't look in the backfield and get stuck, essentially. These linemen are going to get up on you so quick. If you look in the backfield trying to find out where the ball went or where, especially like if you look at where the Weller kid went, you're going to get just, hammered by one of these big guys up here. And that's not at all what we want this week. So we really took a lot of time on working on those read keys with them. And you can see, like, we're playing, like I said, we're playing our monster package here. So, like, those 2 stand-up guys on the outside edge are both linebackers. That's Joe at the bottom and Noah at the top there. Their whole job then was to be, the big physical kids that they are, and essentially turn everything back inside where we have, essentially another 7 or 8 of your buddies to help tackle the ball. We didn't want the ball around us in this game. They'd gotten around people on some of their sweep concepts and wing sweep and all that stuff. And boy, they had just made people pay. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with the structure of this and playing cover 3 behind it.
So for our fans, the non-coaches in the room that are watching this, we see a few different variants of this. Obviously we played Center Grove twice. We plays wing T, which basically is this guy's here instead in a T. Right now Travis at Greenfield, that guy is right there, and this guy is right here here and here in a wishbone, not there and there. But you can do a lot of the same things from it. But really, I want the fans to just watch these 2 guards, because for the most part, they're probably going to take you where the ball's going to go. And like you talked about, you can't look back here, because there's going to be all kind of motions and guys are moving and you think you're going to get one thing and you get caught watching this guy do this, and this ball's going right down the chute on you on a trap or something, and you're hosed. So Something just kind of for our fans to pay attention to as we play defense in this game is we'll talk. I'd love to kind of pick your brain as we go through this a little bit about how challenging this stuff is, because it's different for our kids, and you have to be patient, you have to be diligent, and they're trying to do 3-4 yards a pop. And when you start, getting sloppy with your eye discipline or, not reading your keys, you're gonna be in big trouble. So let's kind of talk about that as this game goes on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see a guy go and pull right here. We do a nice job of getting in his hip pocket with our backers and just kind of scraping. This is one of the very few times, again, if you've really watched us play, we usually scrape over the top of things and get out in front of them. Again, that was probably one of our major advantages. We felt like our team speed in this game was a lot better than what theirs was, and our backers had really adjusted this offensive style so well that we actually thought we could chase a lot of plays down from behind. So you'll see, like, when that guard pulls, normally what we do right now from our standard 3-3 is scrape over the top. In this game, we had played so close to the line of scrimmage because of their style that we actually get in their hip pocket and chase them almost as if we're all like a defensive lineman. And it ends up working out really well for us. We make a lot of really nice plays. I mean, you can see that the hard part, like, you can just roll it here a little bit, but the hard part about this, truthfully, is you don't see these offenses much anymore. And the people that still run them, like you said, Coach Nolting at Greenfield is running the wishbone stuff, and he has forever. A lot of people, because they don't see that stuff anymore, they have no clue how to even defend it or what the goal of the offense even is. And you've got to understand the philosophy behind the offense if you want to stop it, in my opinion. And a lot of people don't really understand what this type of offense is trying to accomplish. And, I think at that point you're already in trouble, if you don't maybe quite get what they're trying to do. That can be a problem. So
you talk about this. I want to stop you for just a second. You talk about this and trying to set this edge, and this is Noah, right? I think Noah does a great job here of stretching out. Looks like number 8 and 11, stretching them out, stretching, and making this guy do this. There are no white jerseys out here.
Yeah,
there are 9 white jerseys in here. Obviously, making him run where the white jerseys are is generally a good defensive philosophy.
Yeah, we really do a good job against that, all game of making them have to go and cut back inside.
So force a punt here. And not a very good one.
Yeah, this was another thing. He struggled here in this game a little bit, which was kind of surprising, but you could tell even their punt right there, like that, they're really far away. We weren't even sure if we could get to that guy. He was so far back on their punts and stuff, because normally we come after him, but I mean they were like 15 to 16 yards. Yeah. So I don't even think we try to come after one in this game, because it was just such a far run to even get there. We weren't sure if we could even do it.
So here we come, drive 2, 7-0.
Yeah, the first drive was so quick, we didn't get a lot of information here. So we come back and we get right back into a lot of our stuff that we had planned for this game. I think we had like a little quarterback buck sweep planned in this game. We had our trap play, which I think is what this one is right here. It looks like this
quarterback trap.
And then we had our inside-outside zone stuff. So, yeah, really just a couple things that we thought would hurt them. Trap had been great for us the week before as well. So we felt like it was going to be a good play for us in this game. And then, our bread and butter. So that's pretty much the 4 different running plays you're going to see.
This looks like under to me.
Yeah. a lot of these throws too that you're going to see early in the game are setups for a bigger payoff that you're going to see later. One of which is coming up here, I think, on this drive, the early kind of planting the seed early here. But we had a lot of what I've kind of called one-offs. Not a lot. We had a couple, but we had a couple of things that I call kind of one-off plays where when we get what we want and we know exactly where they're going to be, we've got a play that's just it's a touchdown as long as we execute it. So we had a couple of those, and then we had we had one of the little gimmicky things in there. We really felt like their ability to cover like our laser or our bubble and goes they were going to really struggle with that stuff. So you're going to see us, like I said, plant the seed of that here soon and set that play up as well early in this game so that it pays off for us later, which it does. But the kids executed exceptionally well. I mean, overall too, it was, they had a really great week this week. So
one of the things I want to ask you about, so, you talk about Noah being such a tremendous weapon, and you used him a lot as an attached tight end.
Yeah.
And this is a formation that we call deuce. Two receivers over here to the right, tight end, and a receiver to the left. And now, and I mean, there were a couple years there where we didn't have a true tight end. But now, the last couple of years, we really had two or three pretty good ones, and you've got away a little bit philosophically from, the 11 what we call 11 personnel with one tight end, and more into the wing stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that shift and why you've gone away from ace or deuce, as we call it, and more into the wing stuff?
Yeah, so we did it with him a lot. He was just so big and so talented that we one of my philosophies early on was that attached tight end was a big part of the offense, and that was just kind of what my vision was and what I wanted to do. We also had the personnel for it. I mean, Noah was really good at that stuff. He was a great blocker, and he was really a tremendous target off the line of scrimmage. So that philosophy started to change, though, a little bit going into his senior year. He'd had a great junior year, and what people started to do to him then was essentially they would just grab him. And he couldn't get clean releases off the ball as much because people would literally, defenses can, quote, unquote, hold you, thinking that you're engaging them and stuff. And some people will use that to their advantage more than what others might. But essentially, a lot of teams' answer to trying to slow him down was they were going to take him out of our offense by essentially just holding him and just grabbing him and not letting him go anywhere. So my answer to that was, well, I'm not going to give you that opportunity. And so we just moved him off the ball that year as a senior some, and we made him a wing. Now, some of that was a game plan thing. Like in this game, we didn't feel like they were going to come up and disrupt him at all. And especially you're going to see it come up in the red zone here. But when they go to man-to-man stuff, they just didn't have anybody to cover him appropriately. And so our mesh route in this game was going to be big for us if we got in that scenario, and we do later. But it also helped us in this game with the blocking that we wanted to do. Like I said, we're going to run our quarterback buck sweep, and either having him attached to the line of scrimmage or motioning him back into the edge is how we're going to help set that play up. So we just needed to put him there. But yeah, we really haven't had a tight end like him since then. It's just been that big and that physical overall. Matt did it for us some this year, but then had to move to left tackle due to other players' injuries and stuff. But really our tight ends have not been near that size. So the wing has been where we've gone, and it allows us to run a lot more plays creatively as well when we use a wing instead of an attached guy. So.
Coach Neligh.
Oh boy.
Little misread here.
Yep.
This is our out concept here.
The bad part about this one is we had practiced this all week, and they hop into cover 2, and I remember saying on the headset, I said, this is a touchdown unless he doesn't read this. I said, this is either 6 points or he's going to throw the ball right to the corner's face. And the younger version of Coach Neligh here does the latter of the two. They really hadn't played a lot of cover 2 either, and we just get a little misread here.
Mm-hmm.
But to Alex's credit, he chases him down.
So kind of a sudden change situation for the defense here to come out on the 9-yard line. A little bit of a tackle wrap look here.
Yeah, they were really hard to stop from down here. Obviously, with this style of offense, their red zone offense had been disgustingly efficient this season. We do a pretty good job here, honestly, of trying to withstand them, their quarterback and stuff. This was one of the interesting parts of this game as well. As dedicated as they were to the kind of the flex bone veer type stuff, they had a really good shotgun package that went along with this that they didn't throw it much from. It was more used as like a single wing and kind of a wildcat scenario, but it had been really effective for them. And that quarterback was a great runner. He really ran the ball well. So that was actually something that we really had to make an adjustment to.
Same play twice here. Wing counter. Quarterback that time.
It's a good play. It's a good play.
So 7-7 now. And things are going to begin to get a little bit exciting here for the Dragons from this point going forward.
I don't know. Alex can probably speak to this some as well, but I think again from a coaching perspective, trying to kind of survey the players with my eyes a little bit. I just remember when that all had happened, like I just felt like our kids didn't even bat an eye. It was almost like, okay, it's 7-7, like we're fine. And everyone just, like the demeanor of this team was so interesting. It does remind me a little bit of the 19 group in that regard, that they had just gone through so much that I remember looking around thinking like, oh boy, okay, we really just kind of botched that a little bit on both ends of the football. Like, how are the kids going to react? And I remember just kind of looking around, and everyone just seemed to be like, all right, let's go play offense. I don't know. Alex, you can probably speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think we kind of felt that we could execute whatever we were wanting to do, and honestly, that kind of one-off mistake of where they flip into a coverage that they didn't really play a whole lot and show a whole lot against that formation. We kind of figured it out and said, hey, we won't let something like that trip us up again. So really didn't cause us any big problems. It might have been a little different if it would have put us in a hole there early, but kind of being set back to 0 helps out too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So kind of starting to see some of the more exotic stuff in here that an even front team can really do. You get a twist back here. You kind of really almost get like a triple gap back here. We missed the twist.
Yeah, they do that to us quite a bit. They really bring a lot of different pressures in regards to twists and some of those loop stunts and then blitzes combined with them. So this was a route you're going to see a bunch. This is just our flood concept here. This was one of the routes where we felt like going into this, anytime we wanted this, we were going to have it. And that was really reassuring. You're going to see us we're going to go back to the well on this one a bunch in this game. And again, they really had not seen a team play this. They had a couple teams run some sort of like a boot or a levels concept against them, and they had really struggled to do it against some of those run teams that run these kind of levels boot concepts. And this was definitely one of our safety zone plays in this game where we felt like at any point in time we could call flood and we could get the yards that we needed out of it. And it's going to be a big, big, big play for us as the game goes on. But it also was part of the report of like, look, this is going to be essentially, easy money for the entire game, really.
Yeah. So, Coach Neligh, I'll let you talk a little bit about this, but the read is basically on him and what his demeanor is. Once this snap happens.
Yeah, because when you have that guy over 2, which is Duke right now, and he's back at 12 yards at the start of the snap, he's really not a factor in the play. And especially now that he's backpedaling, pretty much all the guys that we've had in that slot position over the years, if you give them any type of room, they've been good enough route runners to be able to hurt you in this kind of concept. And obviously this guy thought that Noah was the bigger threat here and left Duke wide open. So it makes it a pretty easy pitch and catch.
Mm-hmm. You two had a few of those.
Yeah.
So this is the quarterback run. We don't quite get it the way we want. They do a really good job on this. We motion Noah in, and we want to get outside of this guy on the crack. They are really well coached. I will say that too. I didn't say that earlier, but this is, I think, again, that like Alex said too, the matchups in this game were largely in our favor, just in regards to general personnel type stuff. But they were exceptionally well coached and disciplined. So you can see this guy, as soon as this guy sees down blocks and feels that he's going to get kind of cracked down on by Noah, he immediately fights that and goes back outside. Now the bonus here is Alex does a good job reading this play, and we end up taking this quarterback buck sweep and going inside of that edge player, which, they avoided those gaps in there. So we've got a huge hole in the middle. But these guys, they really were. They were tremendously, tremendously well coached overall, which is what you would expect at this level.
All right, so here's a little laser screen. Tunnel screen. We call it laser, but
yeah, this is the setup for later. We had to show this stuff to them early to make sure that we got what we wanted. But this was one of our, quite frankly, one of the couple plays where I just flat out said this is a guaranteed touchdown whenever we want it. As long as we get it set up properly, this is going to be worth 6 points for us. And it'll be that later.
So the setup is this, and then I presume it's going to be this to the outside?
Yeah, later on, yeah.
And Adam really runs this well, where he almost turns it into a slant and is getting positive yardage right away, which makes it that much quicker getting downhill and hard for them to get out and try and stop it.
Boy, Noah does a great job on that one right there. Good blocks downfield. I'm going to tell you what, this little nose is giving us fits here.
Yeah, that's some good players. Really tough kids, too.
This little dude is tough, man.
He had some speed.
We cannot get that dude. That's a tough trap block.
We're eventually going to log that trap later instead of trying to kick him out because we just flat out couldn't do it.
Look at the athleticism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not what you draw up, but we're going to take it. That's just Alex making a really good play with his feet here. Good stiff arm on this kid. Steps up in the pocket, makes a really good move here, and the little jump cut here at the end as he gets this face pressure is just a really nice move. So we really just march it right back down the field here and go ahead and take it 14-7 and really start to kind of settle in and calm back down again.
I need to watch the burst kickoff. This was before I was a special teams coordinator. I'm not a huge fan of that personally. There's a tail end of the return there. So we get them in an empty look here. An empty, unbalanced look.
Yeah, so this was another really interesting piece of this. They're going to run this a bunch of different ways in this game. And again, we had seen a little bit of this on tape. It is not something they had to do a lot of just because they had really been ahead of a bunch of their opponents and stuff like that. It's not like this was something really popular that they, had wanted to do or was a huge part of their plans and stuff like that. The trouble here is you still have to go out there with the ineligible kid that we know is ineligible. And the hard part about this is, you've got to essentially count every play, as to how many are out there and who's out there and who can catch it. And we're gonna mess it up here in a little bit. They also run an illegal person down the field here not too long from now and don't get called for it.
Again, good job by turning the buck sweep back inside. Yeah, so just an explainer, for the average fan, he can't go downfield because he's covered by him. And they do that so they can take this guy off the line of scrimmage and motion him. And that's kind of one of those things. We talk about this a little bit in the Valpo game with kind of some of the formation identification challenges. These are some of the things that you kind of have to figure out on the fly, especially when you're playing like a no huddle team. When they start doing this stuff too, you think about like, Cathedral does some of this stuff where they'll sneak guys on, or the tight end suddenly covered, and that changes everything that's happening and who can go downfield. And but like you said, you still have to go out here because if they throw the ball, if they do this, and you've got two dudes out here, you're hosed. You're out flying.
Yeah. So they're going to send people downfield illegally. It doesn't get called, but they actually do it on some passes as well, which makes life even more difficult.
Same look again, other side. He's covered. He's covered by him.
This again is one of the this guy's really good with his feet. He was a good quarterback on his feet. You can tell they don't want to throw the ball. He's pretty uncomfortable back here in the pocket, and we give him a lane, which is obviously what we don't want to do. We go way too far past him with two of our guys here, which is, again, a cardinal sin of defensive line play. Really is going past a running quarterback. You don't ever want to bypass a running quarterback, but I mean, Alex just made them pay for it a second ago, and then now
what you're talking about right here.
Yeah, so now we return the favor. The D lineman, if you go back real quick, so for you guys that are D line people or whatever it might be, the kid at the bottom of the screen does a great job. Once he gets to the quarterback level, you see him spin and what we call do a return move. He realizes he got the quarterback depth and he does a return move. The other two kids don't, and essentially open up a gigantic lane for a running quarterback to run through, which is not at all what you want. That's why you get massive runs like this, because you don't do your job, or you give up a massive run like that. I mean, again, though, we settle in pretty well here.
Can you tackle trap again?
But yeah, they're driving. They're moving the ball on that. We've got them in a long yardage situation, and we give up a kind of a silly bust by us and breathe life back into their offense, and they're moving the football.
He's covered again. There's a wing counter. Well, we got a mess down here.
Now they can all go downfield on this one. So this one is
empty quads.
Yeah.
That's the tight end right there.
Empty
He's
quad
on
with an attached tight end. I mean, it's again the amount of time that goes in. We've talked about this a couple, but the amount of time that goes into all these scenarios on. You're essentially having to plan for two insanely difficult offenses here. You've got to plan for what is their bread and butter, which is a pretty uncommon offense with the flex bone stuff that they do. And then you've got to prepare for this multi-set, wildcat, empty, unbalanced, I mean, it really adds up. So we wanted them in shotgun because it wasn't something they wanted to do, but at the same time, their quarterback had really hurt people with his legs in that. So we forced him to throw one here, and he sails it, and we end up picking this one off, which is a huge play.
And here we go. So I know this was one of your clinic reps here, and this is going to be legally, I think, a 99-yard touchdown because we're not on the 2. Kind of talk me through this rep a little bit here, Coach Ralph.
So Alex does a great job. So one of the things that Alex was really, really good at was our hard count and our freeze play stuff of really trying to push the limits of using his voice to get people to jump offside with his cadence and stuff. So backed up down here, you've kind of seen it. They've definitely gotten some penetration on some of our running plays and stuff like that. So the biggest thing is when I bring the kids into the huddle after the turnover, one is to get them all calm back down again. There's a lot of emotion. It's a big interception. I get it. But, we're in a spot right now where it's 14-7 and this game could really easily go 14-9 if we aren't super careful here. And that is not at all what I want to have happen. So really the gist of this is we're gonna come out with essentially a dead play. And so I tell the kids in the huddle, the first play, we're gonna essentially run freeze. And there is no play. All right. Normally what we'll do then is they'll look over to the sidelines to me for the next play call. But there's no reason to do that because we're standing on the sidelines right now. So I tell them we're going to run the freeze play, see if we can get them to jump off sides, or see if we can tip their hand as to where they're trying to slant or move to help the offensive line out a little bit. And that little piece of information is going to pay off big for us here. So the second part of that then is Alex is essentially going to reset. I've already told them the play is going to be inside zone. And so they've already lined themselves up for that. So they know that's coming. So he's going to reset. He's going to recall the play in the event that one of the guys somehow forgot it, even though I just said it. He's going to recall the play. And then we're going to go into our normal standard cadence and snap the football and run it. So what ends up happening here is they don't jump. They're super disciplined. So they don't jump, which is fine. But they do tip their blitz and their stunt. So we get to see that ahead of time, which helps the lineman tremendously. Alex resets his cadence. The linemen do a really good job of picking it up. We get a great block here out of our left tackle, veering down and picking up some of these scrapes and stuff. And James just hits the hole tremendously well and makes a little spin move off of really the only guy that can tackle him. And it becomes a race to the pylon that he wins. It's one of the best runs we've had in my 7 years and probably one of the best in program history. It broke state records. It broke school records. It's just a big time play.
Yeah, this is one of those, I think, things that that makes a coordinator look really smart. When it's really just our bread and butter play, that we go to, I won't say out of a safety situation, but, we go to it because we know, it's what we do the most and it's what our kids are most comfortable with. And, players make plays, and I think that like I said, that makes the coordinator look real good.
Yeah, I mean, there's no science to this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the setup of it might have been good, but the actual calling of the play, it wasn't hard. I mean, the goal was to just get the ball out of here. Get a couple of yards, and essentially number one is get it out of the shadow of your own end zone, so that if you have to punt it, you're not punting from the back of the end zone. That's goal number one. Goal number two, really in this scenario, is get a first down, which is great. And the ultimate goal, truthfully, is to get 2 first downs and change the field position back a little bit to your favor as a play caller is really what you should be shooting for. Now, I'm not shooting for a 98.5-yard touchdown here, but it's what we get. I'll take that over a first down any day of the week.
And really, that Reed guy, he plays this about as well as you can.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you how close you were.
I think in the huddle, we had talked about, playing it like that, my thing there is I always thought I'm still 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he's already got a whole full head of steam going downhill. So there I'm thinking he has a much better chance of getting out of the end zone unscathed than I do.
That's a really good thought right there.
And so that's kind of what our MO has been for the Reed stuff is if you can still see that guy's numbers on his chest, then you're probably better off handing it to one of our running backs, especially with how talented our backs have been at even just breaking that one tackle, pretty much every year. And so just let them do the work and don't take any really unnecessary chances in that instance.
Coach Ralph, we've talked about this a little bit on the clinic circuit. But I think one of the real keys to making zone read really truly go is if this kid can't be arm tackled by this kid, because you then take away his ability to play both, right?
Right.
So, yeah. If you have a kid, if you have a smaller kid or a weaker kid who can be tackled by this, your zone read game's dead. You just can't do it because this is exactly what's going to happen to you 18 times a night, where this kid's going to come sit square right here, maybe over squeeze it a little bit and take a chance, and then hope he can arm tackle you. The math of zone read just doesn't work if your tailback can be arm tackled.
Yeah, really, I've talked about this. One of the main points of running back play, because I coach those guys. One of the critical pieces is I don't pull any punches when I say this to them either. If you can't win one-on-one battles, and especially an arm tackle, but if you cannot win that battle one-on-one, you're not going to be the running back for this program, and that's just how it is. You've got to be able to be strong enough, capable enough to win one-on-one matchups. And in this scenario, it's an arm tackle. If you can't break these arm tackles on a routine basis, then you're just not. You can't be our tailback. It's that simple. So, I think to Alex's point too, which is a fantastic point, and he was one of the greats at this, is in his mind as well here now, because he's going to come over and tell me Coach, I can pull some of these that are close. One of the big parts, the zone read that's so great when you've got a quarterback like he was, when you've got a really good player back there. One of the principles of it is if you're a better athlete than the guy who's reading you, and if he's trying to sit there and play both like this kid is, if you can pull it and beat him, go ahead and give it a shot. Go ahead and pull one and let's test it, and let's see if that is going to work out. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But he does a good job of kind of evaluating that as the game goes on, and later you're going to see him pull one here and essentially take that kid one-on-one by himself and accept that challenge and then beat him. So, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. and sometimes it revolves around your players. But, yeah, as far as general running back principle is concerned, if you can't break those arm tackles like that, you're not going to play for us. It's just that simple.
So 21-7 now, right?
Yeah, so this is also
A power read look here.
Yeah, they've done this from gun a couple of times now. This now becomes one of those scenarios where I know that it's really early in this game too, but they have not really had to play from behind the entire season. And at 21-7, they are not equipped really to get in a shootout with us. And that was one thing we had told the kids too. If we can execute on offense, you're going to make our defense's life significantly easier if we execute on the offensive side of the ball, because this team was not geared to get in a shootout with us. We wanted to make this game a shootout. Like, our offense this week was geared towards big plays, and we normally aren't. We aren't always exactly that way, but in this particular week, we were really banking on being able to hit some home run balls here and flip the scoreboard and really turn this game in our favor. And at 21-7, it's starting to look like we may live up to that. And it's going to start to kind of really slip away here in a second from them. Really good pass rush here by Joe.
And this is kind of one of those alignment things that we talked about earlier, is we only have 2 guys out here for their 3, which people might think looks crazy, but that's being able to count your eligible receivers. And so this guy, this is one of the ones he was talking about. This is the pass, and he goes 9 yards downfield.
Well, this is weird because they're wrong, because they actually have 8 on. He doesn't need to be on legally. One of these guys should be off formationally. I mean, you can. It's not illegal to do this, but it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to do that.
Right. Yeah, we had talked with our guys about stop covering the covered guy, essentially. You know, I mean, you're still relying on it to be called a penalty, which it's not going to be called a penalty the entire game here, but it should be. I mean, it is a penalty, but we're wasting resources going out there and covering someone who is not allowed to catch the ball.
Coach, let's keep going here. I think we're moving through this at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, we could probably get to halftime. It's going to ramp up here in a second anyway.
It's a good field position here after a 3 and out. You know, big sack buries them, and here's a little bit of a different look that we really don't run a lot of anymore. This straight 2-back set. You know, I know we messed with some of it a little bit in the summer in 2018. But, you know, something we haven't shown on a Friday night in a long time is this 2-back stuff.
So this was one of the one-offs that we had. We had run this set a lot during the year, and this particular play legitimately came off of studying one opponent's film that was as close to spread as we got on tape. They ran a lot of this 2-back stuff, but they ran a lot of like shotgun veer. So it was a lot of midline and dive and trap from a shotgun 2-back set. Well, with that, they had a couple pieces of vertical passing game included in that. And it really was about the only spread film that we had, which obviously makes our life difficult because that's what we are. And we really didn't get a lot of great tape in that regard. So this was literally I don't want to say like a shot in the dark, but this was based off some really tight film study of a team they played that had run a little bit of gun from this set. And we had run this set in the playoffs a pretty good amount of times. I mean, you'd see it every game. a little bit here or there. So it's not like it was foreign. So this was one of the very few things where if we got the bread and butter stuff going, we knew exactly how they were going to line up to this. And there wasn't going to be much question to that because we'd seen them have to defend it. And this was, I actually think we might have only had 2 plays out of this formation the entire game, and this one-off touchdown was one of them. And it was one of the ones where we felt like if we come out and we line up like this and we execute this, this is going to be 6 points. There's no way this kid's going to be able to cover Duke one-on-one out here. It's just not possible. And again, to the kids' credit, we get in a situation where it's a good call. We come off of a stop, and our kids they execute it tremendously well. Duke runs a beautiful slant and go right here at the bottom or at the top of your screen. We've got max protection on. So really this is only going to be a 1 or 2 man route here. I mean, we are 100% banking on the fact that our film study and our matchup is going to lead us to 6 points here. I mean, it's a pure one-off play. So Duke runs a really nice slant and go, beats this kid. Alex throws a great ball right in the breadbasket. And, I mean, this really becomes a big turning point for us. We start pouring it on after this.
I want to talk about the route a little bit, and this stupid post really makes me angry because there's a lot of really good stuff that Duke does here that's obstructed by the post, and this is really subtle. He doesn't literally do this. He's got a defender that's already playing inside leverage. And really what Duke does is he just kind of slow plays it and pushes this guy's inside shoulder to try to get him to do this a little bit. He's already playing inside. He pushes him further inside. See him right there. Hard to see what this defender's doing, but my guess is he's kind of started to open a little bit, open that hip to come.
He drives the slant.
Drive this, and here's the stick step in to push him in, and now this left foot is going to start to go back out, and here we go. So, little things, little technique things. You can kind of see the reaction here. This kid's off balance as he comes out of the post. All the weight is on this inside foot. He's kind of pointed in this way a little bit, and he's dead. I mean, there's just no way right now.
Yeah, I mean, Alice can probably talk about the week of prep leading up to these things. I mean, they'd seen it on film too. It isn't like this was something hard to see, but again, these were the little things where we really felt like we had some major advantages in a couple of these plays, and we executed this the whole week really well. But yeah, he can probably talk a little bit more of that stuff from just the player perspective.
Yeah, I think a big part of it was the little film that we did have on this type of stuff. We pretty much got, and that's kind of where the interception came earlier. We pretty much had a good idea of how they were going to react to every formation. And in this case, we knew on our backside receiver, they had to play inside leverage because they were not quick enough to stop our slants, our ends. And then they felt like if they played a little bit inside, maybe they thought that they would be able to stick with them a little bit better. But they really hadn't seen any double move routes in one-on-one coverage at least. And so that speed kind of adding up with that made it a big mismatch for them, pretty much on all sides, every side of the offense that we were running. And we could do a lot of what we wanted to because of that.
So 28-7. Squib kick here. All right, so now we get them back. Single wing look here with a single receiver.
Yeah, I mean, this is really what we wanted them to be in. And as crazy as that sounds, a lot of people have to defend this, but we really wanted them in this flex bone stuff.
No idea what happened there.
Just another veer play. So this one I think is the fumble. Yeah. So we get some good penetration. You can see right here we do a really nice job of compressing this guy, and we really squeeze down the lane that he wants here for this kind of inside veer / dive play here, and it really muddies his read up, and the quarterback makes a mistake here and tries to disengage and pull it, and when he does, he gets hit and he muffs the ball. And I mean, essentially just spits it right out to us here, and Joe recovers it. So we get the ball back, and I remember this conversation on the headset here. I think Alex even had a little bit to play in this, and talking to Coach Large on the headset, and I said, look, we just hit him with the slant and go. I said, I want to absolutely put the nail in the coffin here. I said, let's come back and let's go laser and go. And Alex was, he said, it's there, Coach. We got it. Let's throw it. And Coach Large said, look, let's not waste it. I'm a pretty aggressive person in general. And I knew it was there. But, we talked about this on the film yesterday, the coach feedback on things and the coaches being able to have input on stuff. Coach Large is up in the box. And he still is up in the box for us on Friday nights. And he said, let's not waste it on the first play. Like, let's set it up. Let's make sure that we have it and then come back to it again when you want. We've only shown them it once, but we've got it if we want it. I understand. But boy, let's not go ahead and take one of, kind of the things where I have my notes and stuff, like a guaranteed touchdown. His thing was let's not take one of your guaranteed touchdowns and waste it because they come out in a different look off of a timeout expecting us to go for the throat here. Let's just – so I agreed. I thought his rationale was solid. And so I told the guys, I said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set this thing up. We're going to come out. And so essentially what I do is I throw two – really fast screens to each side of the field, and then, get them to start attacking those again and trigger that. And then we come back to laser and go on play 3 for a touchdown. So they essentially get all the eye candy, and we call the first 2 plays really fast here. I actually think I called a 2-play set in the huddle, and we go laser to the field and just gash them for 10 plus. We come back immediately and throw bubble to the field on the opposite side and hit them for another one. And then, before they know it and before they can even really trigger, we go laser and go and literally run right by them for a touchdown. So, this drive, I think, was like a 3-play, like a 40-second drive at most. And we've got 7 more points out of it. It was just really well done. And good communication from the coaches, good talk on the headset, kids execute well.
3 really good throws there.
Yeah, this is just another bang, bang, bang. And this game, it went from 7-7, and within, 8 minutes of game clock, I think we're at now, what, like 35-7 here?
35-7, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, a little Barney Rubble trouble here.
I was that Weller kid too. Kicked the ball to him. Oh, no, it wasn't.
No, he's the lead blocker here. Their kick, like I said, their special teams were really good. Their special teams were really solid, and it gave us some trouble. The other part too, we've now kicked off five times, and you don't want to say you're going to have breakdowns, but you are. It's just a volume thing at that point. You're kicking off so much, and I think I'm
going to hold you to that.
Yeah. If we kick off 11 or 12 times in a game, I'm okay with a return happening every once in a while. It's going to happen. If we're kicking off, which I think we're going to kick off in this game like 12 times.
So sticking with the veer stuff here. Dive.
Yeah, this was kind of I was really disappointed in this effort from our defense on this drive. I really got on them after this. I felt like this was maybe one of the only times of the season, with a couple exceptions against maybe an opponent that was quote unquote inferior at times, that I really felt like our defense kind of pumped the brakes on this drive. I was really upset with them. I actually met them on the field after this series was over with, and really dug into them pretty good here, because at 35-7, we're still really early in this game, and I think New Prairie was averaging over 40 points, like almost 49 a night, 40, 46, something like that. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility that they come back in this game, and I really just felt like our defense kind of lost focus and almost got so into the moment of like, oh my God, it's the state championship and we're ahead by 4 touchdowns, like that, and they just didn't play with the edge that they had been playing with, and that just wasn't acceptable. So we had a little talking after this drive here with our defense and got them kind of squared away again. But yeah, they go right back down and make this thing 35-14. I was really unhappy with this overall effort from our defense on this drive, though. They really just allowed them to essentially do whatever they want. They just chunk us the entire drive and just punch the ball right down our throat here.
And then a big thing with that is when you do something like that, it gives the other team confidence that they're able to score that quickly and really feel like they're back in the game.
Yeah, which we just weren't going to allow. I'm kind of a stickler on that stuff anyway, about just general performance, et cetera. I'm always –
Another nice return here.
Yeah. Our special teams, again, outside the kickoff team has had their struggles, but our special teams were good in this game too. Our PATs, we nailed them all, and kickoff return team was really strong the entire night. It was a really good performance by our guys. I actually don't think we don't punt the ball once in this game.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Do we?
Oh, yeah. think so.
Little toss there. Here's something that you'll see us run occasionally, not a ton. We'll kind of outside zone block this and
this is more of
out there.
A tendency breaker for us, just to make sure that we've got something in the plan where the running back's not always going across the quarterback's face. It's just a nice little change of pace play here to make sure that we've got some tendencies broken in the plan and yeah.
Here's attached tight end, 3-by-1. Yep, freeze call. Yeah, I don't know if we lead the state in those, but I bet we're close. I'm sure nobody keeps statistical track of that, but I feel like we get a lot.
Yeah,
we've had a bunch of those over the years.
Our cadence is pretty rhythmic and pretty simple, so it definitely lends itself to, the possibility of people making a mistake and jumping off sides and stuff. I mean, it's you're almost kind of training the other team to jump off sides, really, with the way that we do it. They get so used to hearing the same thing over and over and over again. All of a sudden they hear it and they just trigger to go and it's a freeze play and they give us 5 free yards out of it. So
tough to see here, but they loop this backer and we don't get off the double team. Nice jump cut here, Coach Neligh. Nice conversion here on about 3rd and 2. It's kind of a little wrinkle here out of the 2-back stuff. We threw the fade earlier. This guy was over here, and we threw the fade up top. So now we go to the other side, and this is just going to be a little out route down here.
Yeah, this was another one of our. They're still playing that inside leverage. Garrett does a nice job. The call on
look.
the call on this was actually post corner but they still haven't transitioned out of that inside leverage yet. So he beats the guy to the outside, which traditionally you don't want to do on this route, but he has to. So he beats him outside, does a great job, and a really nice little head nod and stick. And we win another really nice, easy one-on-one route here. I mean, it's really just a simple one-man call, and we're just taking advantage of the matchups and stuff.
Got him all kind of spun around there. That's really well done.
Again, each one of our guys in this game, and really against a lot of people that we had played, but using those different weapons properly was such a big part of our offense in this particular season. And each one of them presented such a major issue for each, respective team that you're going to have to play against. I mean, really, even Columbus East had a little bit of trouble being able to match up with each one of those guys respectively. And that was, that was a spectacular football team. So
there's a trap again.
I think this is the one. This is coming up here where I think Alex pulls this one on this kid one-on-one and beats him coming up here.
There's the flood again.
Yeah, this is the flood for a touchdown. That's the next drive. So this is the flood again. We talked about it. This was going to be kind of money whenever we wanted it. We get the low man really comes up and presses Noah, which leaves Duke wide open. He makes a really nice move there to have that kid miss, and then Logan turns around with a really nice little shield block and springs us for another touchdown.
Same deal here. This guy's kind of in a two-way go. He can either go chase Noah here, or he can kind of sink this way for the out route. And he chooses to go chase the arrow, which gives us the dig or the out.
Yeah, simple route concept. I mean, again, that was one of our comfort zone plays this game, and we're just, that one paid off big, but we've hit it every time we've thrown it so far. So now we're back to that. Now we're back to that big spread. It's now 42-14.
42-14.
And we're going to make a really big stop here coming up on this drive. So they, again, with the shootout mentality here, like they really start pressing it here, and we're gonna press them into, I think, what's a bad decision coming up in a minute, because they know they have to get points here. So they're going to make the decision to go for this in their own territory here coming up. And we get a huge stop on this play right there by Gabe. It's really risky at the score. It's also fourth and like a yard. And their conversion rate on this is extremely high. So I get it, but our offense has really been scoring at will. I think in their mind, probably it comes down to, do you punt this away? And their offense is right now going to likely score as it is. So why? Or do you go for this and keep their offense off the field a little bit longer? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a wrong decision, but it's definitely a bad choice and a bad spot to be in for right now. And then we essentially make them pay for it pretty much right off the bat here, and we score anyway.
Bubble go.
Yeah.
Stalk that and try to get inside. Same thing up top for number one, who you can't see.
Yeah, so we don't quite get this one here. Really, our number two guy, I think it's Noah on this play. What he probably should have done right about now is realize that guy's on top of me. Like he's pretty much kind of capped my route. He should have just stopped and just sat down and made himself open, almost hitched up. But, it is what it is.
This would be the pull.
Yeah, so you can see this kid now goes with Alex one-on-one, and we've kind of talked about this on the sideline that, he really feels like he's trying to play both, and again, you can't let him do that. And so, part of the system, especially with guys like him, was, look, if you can beat that guy athletically one-on-one, then you got to challenge him and do it. You can't let him play two things at once. challenge him, pull the ball, and beat him. And he does a great job, makes a really great move. And actually, at the end of this play, isn't this the one where this kid in the end zone tried to hit you, and you when you ran him over, you broke his collarbone?
No, I think that's in the second half.
Oh,
Yeah, that one.
that does happen.
That was pretty gross.
Yeah, it is later. That's the one you spin move. Yeah.
So pretty quickly, 49, 49-14. How much time do we think we got here?
There's probably about 3 or so minutes left, 4 minutes left. They get a little drive here going, and then it fizzles out, and then we go into a 2-minute drill scenario right here at the end of this half.
Oops.
Yeah, so they're gonna kind of march one down a little bit here, and put together a pretty decent drive that we end up stopping. Oh no, wait, that's right. No, that's right. They get the big touchdown here. That's right. It's late. That's the later drive here. Yeah, so we give one up.
Let's go back.
Yeah, they get out. This is the one they get outside of us on, and it's later that we stop. Yeah, they get right down the pipe and then break it outside the hash. Yeah. So we make a couple mistakes on this play. Yeah, I forgot about this one. We make a couple mistakes here. We don't fit this up the right way. You can kind of see they now have kind of figured out what Gabe is doing. So they bring their veer blocks down on him really tight and essentially pin him in. And they actually get 2 people on him. And he pretty much gets tackled. So we lose him on that play. The big problem here is we don't get our linebacker flow on this play, like out of Nick. Like Nick actually goes out with the quarterback, which he shouldn't do. He should fill in that hole that just got left right there in the middle. He should be filling into that hole. We've got Noah out there for the quarterback, so Nick kind of inadvertently here essentially double gaps us all the way out there in like the C or D gap, and he's not there to fill the inside lane. So, yeah, we give up a really bad one here with multiple critical errors on the same play.
So 49-20. 1.
Yeah, that was not a good finish for our defense at all.
You have hands out here?
Yeah, I believe so.
Looks like it. Yep. Yeah, good a time as any. Big quarterback run here. Quarterback counter. We saw them run this play a little bit, a couple times. I drew it up.
Yeah, this has been a really good play for us throughout the entirety of the playoffs, really. Even though it's a 2-minute drill right now, I mean, we actually had a pretty good amount of time on the clock. So now we get outside of them and get a huge run.
Flood again.
Yeah, another completion.
Another example. I know we talked about this a little bit. Gosh, we've probably called maybe 9 total plays. Maybe
yeah.
10.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when things are working and you felt like they were going to work and they are working, there's no point in straying from that plan, really. So this play is actually it's interesting. So we run this play again. We ran it early in the game. This was one of our we felt like this was going to be a little bit of a foolproof play for us here, that we really could hit this whenever we wanted to. Unfortunately, we're going to come back to this here in a second, and we run it to the opposite side. The bad part is the Weller kid, that's a really good player, has figured it out. So we come back to his side with this play in the second here and actually throw an interception to finish the half. But we hit that in route right there really, really crisp, and we're going to come back to it.
I think that was curl.
That was curl.
Curl.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it looks a little bit more like curl. Well, conceptually, the other one's going to be pretty much the same thing here in a second.
Yep.
But he gets in front of it.
Another twist gets us.
Yeah. I think the one hard part about this too is, the score had gotten a little bit out of hand here. They've obviously scored their own as well, but we really had kind of gotten in front of them schematically and stayed in front of them so far throughout most of the game that, boy, they just started throwing the kitchen sink at us, and that's difficult.
There's your interception right there.
Yeah. Again, there's really no harm in this. We're up by 4 touchdowns at this point, and so it's kind of interesting. My dad makes fun of me for this call still to this day. About why you didn't just pull it for a field goal and just kick it. We came over to the huddle, and I pretty much had told the boys, like, all right, guys, again, it's 49-21. We're up by 4 touchdowns. Our offense has just been absolutely on fire. And I said, all right, I want to kick this and get the 3 points. I said, but what do you guys want to do? And I mean, boy, you'd have thought that I told them they were going to have to pay for the bus ride home. I mean, they absolutely just respectfully revolted in the huddle, and they're like, Coach, man, that is so soft. Like, go for the touchdown. We don't ever just settle for field goals. Like, go for 6. And they're pretty much calling me out on our aggressiveness as an offense. And the players. I mean, it was not what I wanted to do, but the players were so into it, and we kind of, in that moment, kind of had a good laugh together. And I do remember kind of joking with them a little bit, and I pretty much let them call the play, and they talked me out of the points, and we all kind of actually had a pretty good laugh. And Garrett Kuhn was the most outspoken of the bunch. I remember that. I think Alex was probably number 2 in that outspoken group, but again, they did it respectfully, and we went ahead and went for it, and we threw an interception, which, it is what it is. It didn't hurt us in the long run. It didn't hurt us in the short term. But yeah, I did. I wanted to kick that one, and I kind of left it up to the boys. I said, guys, this is your game. Smart money says kick a field goal here and take the points. They did not want to do that, so we went ahead and went for it, and Alex returned the favor really nicely to me for calling that play. So, yeah. But that's the true story. That's what happened. I left it up to the players, and I said, it's your game. And yeah, Garrett was very vocal about my decision to want to pull up for a field goal there, and then they all kind of jumped on board with that philosophy. So Garrett was a politician, boy. He could talk anybody into about anything. So, we went for it.
So 56-20 as we go to the half, and 49-20. Sorry, 49-20 as we go to the half, and Coach, we'll pick up here tomorrow, and talk about how you felt, and obviously going in with a lead of that size. We'll touch on that.
Alex may not be able to be with us tomorrow, so if you want to kind of get his thoughts and maybe his thoughts on some of the halftime stuff now, and then we'll wrap it up. And then I can go over that stuff tomorrow if you want to.
Sure, Coach Neligh, go ahead.
I think this game, as much as any ones we played, kind of shows, overall just how good our film study is as coaches and players, and just that big confidence going into the games that we have, even with such a short time period between games, of schematically, we're always pretty confident in what we have, what we can call. And then obviously, like you just said, we only ran 9 or 10 plays in that first half. And when you're able to go and do that and execute over and over again, then makes you feel pretty good. And even if the score wasn't as big as it was going into halftime, I think that level of confidence would have still been there, just because we knew that we could go out and execute this set of plays and probably score pretty much whenever we felt like we needed to. But I think that just attests to not just that year, but like the constant film study that every team has put in since they've been here, just wanting to be as prepared as possible for every game they go into, which I think I'm not sure a lot of other programs, but I think that sets us apart, is just how willing the kids and coaches are to put in that extra effort and make sure that we're always 100% prepared for whatever they're ready to. We know exactly what they've shown before, and then that way, if they show something different, we can make adjustments and be a little more easy going into that in the flow of the game.
All right, so Coach Ralph, we'll pick it up here tomorrow and talk about a halftime, where you have a big lead, and talk about kind of how that drives what you choose to do in the second half. So, Coach Neligh, it was great to have you.
Yep, thank you.
And as always, send us your questions, send us your requests. If there's any games you want us to see, you want to see us talk about, please let us know. I know we've got a little bit of a list going, but we're going to run out of a list at some point. So the longer this whole quarantine thing goes on, the more games we're going to need to do. So send those to us, and Coach, we'll plan on seeing you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.